Hello, everyone, and welcome to another segment. Another shocking last minute coach being fired in the last minute. Let's welcome Eric to the conversation. Hello, Eric.
Hello, Jessica. Glad to be here.
The NBA just witnessed one of the most shocking midseason moves in recent memory. A championship winning coach and GM both fired with only 3 games left. What's your take on this, Eric? Logically, why do you think this happened?
You know what? Michael Malone wasn't just any coach. He led the Nuggets to their first NBA title in franchise history just 2 seasons ago. The tension between Malone and GM Calvin Booth had apparently reached such a point that they weren't even speaking directly to each other. They had to use intermediaries just to communicate basic team decisions. That's insane. That's absolutely wild considering they were the architects behind the Nuggets' historic championship run. What do you think was the breaking point?
Well, from what we're hearing, it came down to player development. Booth was pushing hard to give more minutes to younger players, while Malone, who's known for his, let's say, passionate sideline demeanor, preferred sticking with his veteran rotation.
The timing of this move seems risky given where they are in the standings right now. Not a good move at all on my part. I think this decision should have come after the postseason.
I agree. Period. Let me break down exactly why this timing is so crucial. They're currently in a 5-way tie in the Western Conference, technically sitting at the 7th seed when you factor in tiebreakers. They've lost 4 straight games, and Jamal Murray is dealing with this lingering hamstring injury that was initially described as day-to-day.
Speaking of Murray's injury, that must have added another layer of tension to the situation. So how do you see them going forward in the playoffs run?
It's going to be quite interesting to see. And now they're heading into these must-win situations with David Adelman, who's never been a head coach at this level.
That's quite a baptism by fire for Adelman. Even though he comes from a strong basketball lineage with his Hall of Fame father.
You know what really caught my attention? Earlier this season, Michael Porter Jr. made this almost prophetic statement. He said, "We all know if we don't win this year, they're going to have to break us up." Now, with these firings, it feels like we're watching that prediction unfold in real time.
The financial implications of the new CBA must have played a huge role in this decision-making process.
Exactly. And here's why that matters so much. Under the new second apron rules, it's becoming increasingly difficult for small market teams like Denver to keep championship cores together. The front office believes they have about 6 or 7 years left of Jokic's prime, and they're right in the middle of that window.
The Jokic factor is fascinating here. How do you think he'll handle this transition considering Malone was literally the only NBA head coach he's ever played for?
That's perhaps the most critical piece of this puzzle. Malone wasn't just Jokic's coach. He was instrumental in developing him from a relatively unknown second-round pick into a 2-time MVP. Their relationship went beyond the typical player-coach dynamic. And now, in the middle of what should be a championship push, they're asking Jokic to adjust to a completely new voice.
The ripple effects of this decision could be felt throughout the league for years to come.
Let me paint a picture of just how unprecedented this is. We're talking about a coach who not only led them to their first championship, but is literally the winningest coach in franchise history. And Josh Kroenke, the team governor, delivered the news to both Malone and Booth in person this morning, essentially cleaning house in one dramatic move.
The immediate challenge for Adelman seems daunting. How do you think he'll approach these final crucial games?
From what I'm hearing, the immediate strategy will be to lean heavily into what's already working, running everything through Jokic. But here's what makes this situation so fascinating. Adelman has actually filled in for Malone before, but this is entirely different. The stakes are higher, and now he's got to navigate not just game strategy, but also the emotional fallout from these firings.
That's going to be quite the balancing act, especially with the playoffs right around the corner.
And here's another layer to consider. Both Malone and recently fired Grizzlies coach Taylor Jenkins are now available. We rarely see 2 such accomplished coaches on the market simultaneously, and it's going to create this interesting dynamic where multiple teams might start questioning their own coaching situations.
The timing of these firings so close to the playoffs really seems to break with conventional NBA wisdom.
That's what makes this move so bold, and potentially so risky. The Nuggets are essentially saying that the status quo, even with recent championship success, wasn't good enough. They're gambling that this shock to the system will somehow catalyze better performance, but they're doing it at a moment when most teams are trying to maintain stability heading into the playoffs.
Do you think this could start a trend of teams being more willing to make dramatic changes, even when they're still in contention?
You know, that's a fascinating question because it challenges our traditional understanding of when teams should make major organizational changes. The conventional wisdom has always been to wait until the offseason, but the Nuggets are suggesting that sometimes the risk of maintaining a dysfunctional situation outweighs the risk of making a dramatic change.
The next few weeks will certainly be telling for the future of the franchise.
And that's really what makes this story so compelling. We're watching a real time experiment in organizational management at the highest level of professional sports. The Nuggets have essentially pushed all their chips to the center of the table, betting that this bold move will somehow salvage their championship aspirations rather than derail them completely.
Looking ahead, what do you think will be the key indicators of whether this gamble pays off?
Well, the immediate test will be how they perform in these final 3 regular season games, but the real measure will be their playoff performance. If they can maintain their composure, avoid the play in tournament, and make a deep playoff run, this might be remembered as a stroke of genius. But if they stumble, especially given Jokic's prime years, this could go down as one of the most questionable decisions in recent NBA history.
That's quite a legacy-defining moment for the Kroenke ownership.
And that's really what it all comes down to. This decision will either be viewed as the bold move that saved the Nuggets' championship window, or it'll be seen as the moment they let organizational politics derail what could have been a dynasty. Either way, we're watching NBA history unfold in real time.